Ever heard about the time when the world champion was checkmated by a toddler? Well, buckle up because you're in for a wild ride. Picture this. A balmy summer afternoon, the world champion, let's call him the Grandmaster, lounging lazily in the park. Across from him, a toddler, barely 3 feet tall, toddling around with a lollipop in his hand. Let's call him Lollipop Lad. The Grandmaster, always up for a challenge, decided to invite the Lollipop Lad for a game of chess. A harmless game, he thought, to kill some time. Little did he know that this pint-sized opponent would flip his world upside down. The Lollipop Lad, all giggles and sticky fingers, took his place opposite the Grandmaster. The game began. The Grandmaster, with years of experience and strategy under his belt, made the first move. The Lollipop Lad, on the other hand, seemed more interested in his lollipop than the game. The Grandmaster smirked, certain of his victory. But then, the unthinkable happened. Lollipop Lad, with a sudden burst of energy, made a move so unpredictable, so outrageous, it left the Grandmaster flabbergasted. The game continued. With each move, the Lollipop Lad's strategy became more and more mysterious. The Grandmaster, now visibly anxious, was on the edge of his seat. He couldn't comprehend what was unfolding before his eyes. The Lollipop Lad, with a final triumphant giggle, moved his queen, and there it was. Checkmate! The Grandmaster, world-renowned, a master of his craft, was defeated by a toddler. The park erupted in laughter, and the Lollipop Lad, unaware of his monumental victory, simply toddled away, leaving the Grandmaster in a state of dumbfounded disbelief. And that, my friends, is how our tiny conqueror toppled the king. Speaking of kings, in the grand game of chess, we have our own special names for the pieces. No more kings, queens, or rooks. Welcome to the new royal court. First off, let's meet our leader, the king, or as we like to call him, the lazy lounger. He's the most important piece on the board, but he's not exactly the most athletic. He likes to take it easy, moving one square at a time. You'd think he'd get a bit more exercise, considering he's got the entire game riding on his shoulders. Next up is our queen, or should I say Miss All Over the Place. She's the powerhouse of the team, capable of moving in any direction she pleases. She's the multitasker of the group, always ready to swoop in and save the day. If chess had a superhero, she'd definitely be it. Now, let's not forget about our bishops, or as we lovingly call them, the sly sliders. They're the sneaky ones, always sliding diagonally across the board. They might not be the strongest pieces, but their ability to sneak up on the enemy makes them a force to be reckoned with. Our knights, or the hoppy horses, are the eccentrics of the group. They're the only pieces that can jump over others, and their unique L-shaped movement can be a real game changer. They're like the wild cards of chess, always keeping the opponent guessing. Then we have the rooks, or the straight shooters. They're the ones who like to keep things simple. They move straight, horizontally, and vertically, no funny business. They're like the dependable old friends you can always rely on. And last but not least, we have the pawns, or the Pee-wee squad. They may be small, but don't underestimate them. They're the foot soldiers of the team, always ready to step up and protect the royals. So, now that we've got our royal court in order, let's see what kind of shenanigans they can get up to. Forget everything you know about chess. It's time to introduce some moves that would make a Grandmaster quiver. Now let's shake things up a bit with some wild and wacky moves. Remember, these aren't your run-of-the-mill strategies. They're designed for maximum amusement and bafflement, so get ready to turn chess on its head. First up, we have the lazy lounger's leap. Now imagine if our friend, the king, who usually just shuffles about, could suddenly leap over other pieces, like a champion hurdler. Picture the surprise on your opponent's face when you declare king to e5 and proceed to hop over a battalion of pawns. It's a move that's bound to get a few chuckles, or maybe even gasps of disbelief. Next, we have the straight shooter swirl. Picture this. Your rook, known for its straight lines, decides one day that it's bored of its monotonous existence. So instead of moving in a straight line, it starts doing pirouettes around the board, spinning from one square to another in a dizzying dance. The sheer absurdity of a twirling rook is enough to leave your opponent in splits. Then there's the bishop's backflip. Yes, you heard that right. This move involves the bishop, usually the reserve diagonal mover, deciding to show off its gymnastic prowess. With a graceful backflip, it switches its color, hopping from a black square to a white one, or vice versa. Just imagine the uproar when you pull this one out of the bag. And who can forget the knight's nosedive? In this move, the knight, tired of its L-shaped leaps, decides to dive straight into a square like a missile. The stunned silence, followed by peals of laughter, is worth the ridiculousness of this move. We also have the pawn's plunge, where the pawn takes a brave plunge into an adjacent square, completely ignoring the straight path it's supposed to follow. It's a bold move, sure to raise eyebrows and evoke laughter. And finally, we have the queen's quake. In this move, the queen, the most powerful piece on the board, decides to use her power to shake things up a bit, literally. With a mighty stomp, she shakes the board, causing all the pieces to jumble up. It's a move that's as chaotic as it is hilarious, so there you have it. A collection of wild, outrageous moves that are guaranteed to add a dash of hilarity to your game. They might not be legal, and they certainly won't help you become a grandmaster, but they're sure to make your chess games a lot more fun. These moves may not win you any tournaments, but they're sure to get some laughs or confused looks. Ever thought of winning a game of chess by distraction? Here are some funny cheat moves that are as ridiculous as they sound. Let's begin with what I call the sneeze swoop. This move is the epitome of sneaky, literally. You pretend to sneeze, and in the midst of this seemingly natural occurrence, you subtly move a piece on the board. It's all about timing and a convincing performance. Make sure to keep some tissues handy for authenticity. Next up, we have the double take deception. This one requires a bit of acting prowess. You point at something behind your opponent, creating a diversion. As they turn around, you swiftly move one of their pieces. The trick here is to make it believable. Maybe shout, "Is that a flying squirrel?" Or look, a three-headed monkey. The more outrageous the distraction, the better your chances. Then there's the chuckle shuffle. This one's a gem. You start laughing uncontrollably, as if you've just remembered a hilarious joke. As your opponent is caught off guard, you quickly rearrange the pieces. Just make sure your laughter doesn't turn into a real fit of giggles, or you'll give the game away. And who could forget the blundering bishop? This move involves making a seemingly horrendous blunder with your bishop. As your opponent revels in your mistake, you subtly change the position of another piece. The key to this move is selling the despair. A facepalm here, a sigh there, and you've got it. Finally, we have the sneaky snack attack. This move involves eating snacks during the game, and then, during a particularly crunchy bite, you move a piece while your opponent is distracted by the noise. It's a deliciously deceptive move. But let's not forget the golden rule of chess. It's all about sportsmanship, strategy, and respect for your opponent. These cheat moves are purely for entertainment purposes, designed to add a dash of humor to an otherwise serious game. Always remember to play fair, and keep the shenanigans for friendly games only. Remember, these are just for fun, not for real games, unless you have a really understanding opponent. Well, we've had quite the journey, haven't we? We've stormed the board with our unlikely hero, the pouting pawn, and introduced a royal roster that's more suited to a comedy club than a chess match. Remember the rambunctious rook and the bumbling bishop? And who could forget the quirky queen and the kooky king? We've made moves that would make a grandmaster guffaw, like the diagonal dabble, the sideways shimmy, and the backwards boogie. Not to mention the notorious cheat methods, the sneaky swap and the distracting point. In the wild moves section, we certainly weren't afraid to get a little wacky. And finally, in the cheat sheet, we gave you some tongue-in-cheek ways to tilt the game in your favor, or at least get a good laugh. And there you have it, a guide to becoming the most entertaining, if not the most successful, chess player around. Always remember, it's not always about winning. Sometimes it's just about having fun.